was a proper lockdown. That was, you could leave your house for maximum of an hour a day for exercise and food. This lockdown is, you can work. If you can't work from home, you can go out for as long as you want and exercise, but really just be sensible. So it's kind of it's a lockdown, but a lot of people aren't following it, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm because obviously the reason I'm talking today is, you know, because of the walk I did for my mum. So she was quite vulnerable to the virus. So I've been doing full lockdown for a long time to keep her safe, really.
Yeah, my mom's 93, and
Yeah,
Thanksgiving and Christmas were nowhere near what we would normally have done.
it was strange, wasn't it?
Yep, mom she lives for Christmas, and to have a year like we had just didn't work well with her. But you know, I'm not going to do something stupid to get her sick. I mean, you know,
exactly. That's what we've been like.
Morning, Tom.
Good morning. Good morning, Grace. Welcome.
Morning, Tom. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a while here. I remember we kept a lot of your kayaks and stuff at our house for a few days and helped a little bit. And right before I signed on, my eyeglasses broke right before I signed on. So I got my spare glasses, luckily. Old people have spares of everything.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed your book a great deal. It was, are your feet healed?
Yes, the scars and things have gone, but where I got blisters, I'm very prone to getting them again now. But yeah, I kept most of my toenails and things like that, so it's all right.
When I was reading it, I bicycle about 20 miles a day on average, and I was thinking, Grace walked more than that in a day, and I thought, and I get all occasionally in my cycling, I'll have a flat tire that I just cannot fix if I have a glass cut and I have to walk a mile or so. And I think, well, that's a long way. You multiply that plus carrying weight. So
yeah, it's changed my perspective on what's a long walk now. Definitely. If someone says, do you fancy going for a 4-mile walk? I think that's all right. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember the comedian Grace, not you, Grace. The one, I can't think of her name. But anyways, her husband said, "Hey, honey, let's load the kids up and go to Disney World." And she said, "Not without a court order." So just don't want to do it. Gotta get old. Can't remember who she appeared with John Goodman in a sitcom 25 years ago.
Jane Curtin?
No. Anyway, short dark hair. But anyway, enough of that.
I bet it's grown since then.
Probably.
Morning, Jerry.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. I see Al's on too.
How's everybody this morning?
Very good.
Good.
Thank you.
Morning, Dave.
I just came to the country yesterday, so I'm good.
Morning. Take your coat off and stay a while.
Yeah.
Jerry, I really liked the post you put out with the teachers coming back and the students and such. That was very, very well written.
Thank you. It was just kind of an off the cuff thing that I just wanted everybody to know that they make a difference. It doesn't show day to day, you know that, but you know that it does they do make a difference, and you may not see it for years, but it's there.
Yep.
They do it, and I know it's a tough job right now. Very tough job.
I remember I teach in St. Charles, and I was at West County Mall doing something, which is a fur piece from St. Charles. And one of the kids comes flying up to me, Mr. Robinette, hi, how are you? I see, because of subbing, I see different, I don't know what classroom, I always ask what homeroom they're in because that's the easiest way for me to remember.
Right.
And it was African-American boy. And I mean, he was just so great to see me, and his dad's there looking like, who the hell is this guy and where do you know him from? And so I introduced myself and said, oh, you're the guy he's talking about. And I looked at the kid. I don't even remember who it was now, to tell you the truth. I looked at him. I said, I'm assuming it was good that you were saying, and he just started grinning. And the dad said, yeah, it all was. So, but you're right. You don't know what impact you have on these kids. And it may be 30 years later before it registers with them.
That's right. That's right. Just can't give up. We can't give up hope. I've had many of those days where I felt like giving it up, but yeah, you just can't. I know Bridget, they got their students back yesterday. High school went back yesterday. Nolan starts middle school today in person live. So I hope he enjoys it as much as he has enjoyed the online version of middle school.
I have a Wentzville Club as my district governor visit. I gave my fabulous presentation. And at the end, President Teresa Daly of the Wentzville Club said she had an announcement. So the announcement was that a scholarship recipient, and I don't know the dollar amount, but it was from 1996 scholarship recipient from Wentzville wrote a letter saying how the scholarship meant the world of difference to him over all the years and his success. And he included a check for $40,000 to the Wentzville Rotary Club.
Wow.
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 They have a lot of things going on usually, and this will really help fill the gap. And maybe golf outings and other things that are not able to happen this year. So it's very well timed and very well needed and very well appreciated. So that was kind of a jaw dropper for me. You know, I'm glad they didn't make the announcement first.
Nobody'd be listening to you.
So anyway, that just shows I'm telling you that just to show the response that these scholarships mean to people. So, and I'm getting a lot of those put to where they need to be.
Morning, Mitch.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are ya?
Pretty good so far, but it's early.
Early it is. What time of day is it for you, Grace?
It is just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
All right.
Yeah.
We got that afternoon lull, huh?
Something like that.
Very good. All right. Let's see. Tom, is this was your adventure, right?
It was.
Guess we'll give a few more minutes for some other folks to join in.
Well,
Have any-
Brian's not here yet, so we can't start. I mean,
There you go.
Yeah.
just saying. Sorry.
Good morning. Good morning, Mitch.
Carolyn, where are you these days?
I just came to the country yesterday. Stay
Good for
until
you.
Sunday.
All right.
Yeah,
Enjoy that country air.
that's right. I might get some porch time in if it gets up to high 50s or 60s. I'll go out there with a heater.
Yeah. Did they have much snow down there?
No,
No.
There's nothing right now either.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't get much. I don't know why my picture won't come up today. Or me live won't come up today. I guess I look worse than I thought. It's wanting to black me out.
Technology.
I'll tell ya.
Yes, Governor Todd.
Yes.
Now, with no political intentions in mind, when my district governorship ends and Margie Salmon starts, I guess I don't need to attend the ceremony, do I?
Well, it's protocol, but during this day and age of COVID, there may not be a ceremony.
That's very true.
So,
I was on a call last night with the foundation, the Zone Foundation folks, and Floyd kind of let slip that the summer seminars are most likely still going to be virtual. And although it is not his to plan, he said right now, we don't even know about Zone in September.
Sure.
So they're looking at, going into the beginning of next Rotary year, at least still being virtual as way. He didn't say a definitive that this is exactly what's going on, but he kind of, y'all need to start planning this.
I get my shot next Wednesday at 7, so I probably won't be with you all.
Good for you.
Well,
Yeah.
wait, Todd, we need a program for next week. Can we live stream that? And you could just, I'm just asking,
I'll send you a pic if that's available, but I might be crying or something. I don't know.
Where are you getting?
Well,
Todd,
They
where
say
are
the first one's easy.
St. Luke's Hospital,
Huh.
and that'd be Todd,
registered as a dentist, and they got a deal going on out there.
that'd be a Todd Lindley presentation with a point.
Mm.
Mm.
Sorry, it was too easy.
Oh, it's all right.
Next time I see you, you might transcend dental meditation for me. So
You're gonna throw them all out.
Tom, we do need a program. If you want to just put your comedy skit together, we can do that next week.
just to let everybody know, I got a new book for Christmas, Dad Jokes.
Oh shit.
I'll give you one. Just one. You can only take one at a. Why did the Beatles break up? They started to bug each other.
Mm.
Oh dear.
Then young people like, who are the Beatles? Really?
Yeah.
Somebody had said their daughter, this is a few years ago when daughter was about 10 or 12, somewhere in there. You mean Paul McCartney was in another band before Wings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Wings?
Yeah.
The one of the Austin Powers movies. I guess that's Mike Myers. He had all these young female cute actresses, and they had no idea who the Beatles were. No clue. In fact, on the news last night, an 8-year-old girl was selected because she wrote a poem or song that they'll use in the inauguration, and they told her that she'll do her thing, her presentation, and hand it off to one of these famous actors, and she didn't know who the actor was, and she didn't know what an inauguration was either, which is understandable.
Tom
Tom
Hanks.
Hanks.
Tom Hanks,
Yeah.
that's it. God, I'm losing my mind here. So,
Interesting.
can I do a short introduction to Grace?
Yep, let's go ahead and do it. Thanks, Tom.
Good morning. I first met Grace along with Ken Robertshaw in, I think it was northern Missouri along the Mississippi River.
Oh,
I think you might be muted.
Tom, you got muted. Unmute yourself if you would.
Okay, I'm on mute.
There you
Okay.
go.
Anyway, Grace, Dr. Todd Lindley here on the screen. He's my friend and my dentist and so forth, but he heard about the what you and Ken were going to do and knew that I knew a little bit about the river business and river. So he suggested I contact you all. And so it's Todd's fault. And another thing that fell together, I drive a Mini Cooper, which you may have heard of Mini Coopers.
Yeah.
But my brother-in-law has a nice Jeep that we used for the weekend to help go up to
Yeah.
northern Missouri because the river was an absolute raging flood. And you and Ken were smart enough to get out of the river and not die because it was just really, really raging. But for those of you who don't know, Grace and Ken Robertshaw kayaked the entire Mississippi River except for a piece in the middle in Missouri that was during flood stage. And we brought them down here to St. Louis area. We parked their stuff here and we helped them find a hotel, and they kind of regrouped for a day or two. And we gave a little tour of the St. Louis area and so forth. And in fact, just the other day, my wife Joy and I were over in East St. Louis at the Malcolm McDonald's sculpture, which is on an overlook that we took you and Ken to. It overlooks the Mississippi River where you can see the arc. And with iPhones, you can look at pictures where similar pictures from the same spot, and it pulled up that picture of you and Ken sitting by the statue. But anyway, had the pleasure of staying with you guys for a few days. And then when the river conditions got a little better, I drove them down to the Cape Girardeau area. And at the last minute, I decided I'm going to go down and camp out as well. So I threw my tent in the car, went down there, and Ken and everybody all set up tents. And I neglected to put my tent stakes in my tent. So I was able to put the tent up, but I could not tie it down. And of course, that means it's going to be really windy. So I'm just, trying to stay on the high wind side. So anyway, the next morning we get up, and it took them probably a half hour at least to load all the stuff they put in the kayaks. And we stayed at Tower Rock Park, which is about 6 or 7 miles upriver from Cape Girardeau. So put them in the river. I went down to a local grocery store and bought sandwiches for them for the day, because I knew that where they were going for the next 12 hours, there was nothing, because Grace knows this better than anybody. But so they pulled into Cape right above the new bridge and loaded sandwiches. And then as they paddled off, I went and bicycled over to the new bridge by the university and cycled out on the bridge and got a picture of them from the bridge in their kayaks. And if you look at the picture, it just looks like a river. You can't see anything, but there's 2 little dots in the picture, and that's their kayaks. I followed them like a worried father the whole way down, because they had some kind of GPS tracker device that would post every, I don't know how many minutes, but
I think it was once an hour, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would see where they are. And when Grace would have internet capability, she would post a nice post about where they are. And I like your post about when you stay in a sandbar, you would call it the Gray Bar Hotel, because of the sand. And one of the visits on the river, it was near a river casino, and casinos have hotels. And so I could see the tracking of their stuff to where the casino is. Then I could see them track up the parking lot over to the hotel. So every few days they could get a decent, night's sleep and a good shower and so forth. And, but it was really fun following them and worrying and fretting, but they did great. And they went all the way to the headwaters, which is, to those of us lay people, New Orleans is not the end of the river. There's over 100 miles left after New Orleans, and it really gets down to nothing. I've only been down to mile 55 on the river, not to mile 0. But they did the whole thing and raised a lot of money for what was the charity that Ken was in?
It was a charity called the Theodora Children's Trust, and what they do is they provide what they call giggle doctors, so people trained in sort of comedy for children, and they provide them in intensive care units for children to try and keep them happy in hospital, basically.
Well, anyway, to bring you up to date, Grace wrote a book about her late mother and a walk she did in honor of her. And Grace is from Great Britain, and I believe you are a diving coach instructor in public education.
Yes. Yeah, I was. I've recently stopped doing that, but yes, I was. That's the most recent job I've done. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you can fill us in on any new things. So welcome, Grace. This is our Overland Club, and we're glad.
Thank you very much. Will I be able to share a screen? I've got a few pictures and videos. Yes, I can. Brilliant.
Yes.
Right then, guys. Well, thank you so much for having me today. This is really exciting, because this is the first time I've presented any of these internationally, and I think it's going to be particularly exciting to do the Mississippi one, because everyone in Great Britain has absolutely no idea what the Mississippi is like, but you guys will have a bit of an idea because you live closer to it, so it's going to be interesting. But yeah, as Tom gave me that lovely introduction, my name's Grace Alsancak here. I got married last year, so that's my name change. But I tried to class myself as the accidental adventurer, because at no point whilst I was growing up did I think, you know what, I'm going to go do some crazy adventures. But this is my story of how I've ended up doing these kind of things. So a bit about me. I'm currently 28 years old. I was 22 when I did the Mississippi and 27 when I did the walk that I'm going to talk about. I'm from Halifax in West Yorkshire, not to be confused with the place in Nova Scotia, which a lot of people thought we were from when we were doing the Mississippi. I am an ex-springboard and platform diving coach. I went to uni and studied for a BSc and MSc in sports coaching. I've always been up for a challenge, but I think it's very important to say I am not an experienced kayaker or walker, but I have done these things since. So first things first, I'll talk to you a bit about the Mississippi and obviously how I met Tom. So we started doing this this challenge. It was 6 years ago, nearly 7 years ago now, in the summer of 2014. Myself and Ken Robertshaw, my paddle partner, came up with the idea to do this challenge because we'd both done challenges separately. I'd climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, and he'd done a dog sledding challenge across the Arctic. And basically we got arguing as to whose challenge was harder, and decided the best way to settle it was to do one together. So we decided to do the Mississippi River. As I said, neither of us had ever really been in a kayak before. We had about 6 months from the day we decided to do it to the day we put in at Lake Itasca to learn to use a kayak. This is the story that happened. So now this is one of my favorite slides when I present in England, because I say, what do you think of when I mention the Mississippi River? Now I'm intrigued as to what you guys would think of. I think you'd probably say paddle steamers, big wide bends, because I know obviously that's what it's more like in St. Louis. Now I don't know if any of you have ever been up to Lake Itasca, but this is actually what it looks like at the very beginning of the river. It is more like a stream. It's about a foot deep, a meter wide, and most of the day your first day you tend to spend actually just walking and pulling your kayak along. So I've got a few videos and things in here, and I'm hoping they come through properly. Apologize if they don't, but these are a couple of videos from the very first day of our paddle. So this is me a couple of miles in, negotiating a tree trunk and pulling my kayak along behind me.
Grace, what time of year did you start the journey?
We started in August. I think it was August the 7th, if I remember correctly, which we were told was actually quite late for a full source to sea. But the reason for that is, do you guys know what the Commonwealth Games is? I know America isn't involved in it, but it's a sporting event that Britain are involved with, and I was volunteering at that event, and it meant we had to push everything a bit further back. So we started in August. Which meant the vegetation and things were quite high, which you're going to see in this next video. So this particular one was probably taken a couple of hours in, again, of our journey. We were paddling along and we suddenly got stuck in a field of vegetation, and the only way to get through was just sort of stick your paddle in and try and pull. And we were stuck in this for about 2 hours. So this is certainly not what I thought the Mississippi was going to be like. It's a far cry from what it's like in New Orleans, I can tell you that. But yes, we were stuck in this for a few hours, and I'm not going to lie, at times it was quite frightening, because I thought if we get stuck here, no one's going to have a clue where we are. At one point, Ken actually tried to get out of his boat so he could push it along, and found that it was just a bog underneath. So it was just quite literally try and pull yourself through this vegetation. Oh, sorry, I don't want to play that again. Moving on to the kayaks. Now, we had been training in quite small kayaks in the UK, but we got these kayaks made for us in Washington State, actually, in the States, and then shipped up to Minnesota. And they were about 15 foot long each, and we reckon that fully loaded with all our gear, they were about 90 kilograms each. And we had 2 of them. So in there, we were carrying our tents, our clothes, our cooker. We tended to carry enough food or water to last us about a week, because we worked out when we could stop in cities and things like that and refuel. There was 2 sections above Memphis and below Memphis where there's 150 miles where you just can't get off the river to a town or a city. So we had to carry even more stuff then. So they were heavy, heavy things, but that is what we lived out of for 58 days, believe it or not. They were a bit of a mess by the end of it, it's safe to say. Now, something people don't think about often on the Mississippi, particularly in the upper reaches before you get to the locks and things like that, is you have to do what you call a portage, which is where if a beaver has created a dam or there is an actual dam like that, you have to pull your kayak out of the water, walk it down the road and get back in, because there's just no way you're going to kayak down that. Now, these could be an absolute nightmare. The picture on the left is on the very first day. It was only about 100 meters that we had to walk round, but again, when your kayak weighs 90 kilograms, it's a lot of effort. So we used to have to empty everything out of the boats, move each boat individually, then go back and collect all the equipment, bring it back, put it in the kayak, and then get back on the water. So some of them were short, but then the picture on the right is probably the worst portage we had to do. This particular one, it was over 1.5 miles long. I think we had to walk across a car park, through a public park, and then take the boats down a flight of 50 steps. I think that took us nearly 3 hours to do. As I say, fully loaded, these kayaks weighed a lot. So we had to do that regularly. It wasn't up until leaving Tom, etc., that we sort of really started to not have to do portages, and got the locks in there. So they were interesting to do every day. Now, river traffic, a lot of people always ask me the kind of stuff we came across. Now, I don't know how many of you have been sort of New Orleans, Baton Rouge area, but that's where you kind of start to find the ocean going ships. Now, this picture is of me in the foreground with one of the big ships in the background. So to put it in perspective, if you've never seen one, they have about 4 helicopter landing pads on them. That's how big they are. Now, they were silent. You didn't know that they were coming up behind you. You were constantly always having to turn just to check when one was coming, because you couldn't hear them. But they were very powerful things, and they create quite a wake behind. They chuck up a lot of water, which would create a lot of waves for us to negotiate. So they were fun to deal with lower down the river. And then barges, now they're going up a lot higher, up to Minneapolis area. Now, these were not silent. They were very loud. And the worst thing about these is because the tug is at the back, the driver could not see us at all. So if we were even within 200, 500 meters at the front of their barge load, they wouldn't be able to see us. So we always had to be really, really careful and keep an eye out for them so we didn't get run over. One particular pilot told us that we looked more like a log and that they like running over logs. So we had to be careful. And then we also came across the occasional swimming squirrel. I did not know that squirrels could swim, but apparently they can. So there we go. Now, it wasn't, it wasn't all fantastic. It wasn't just a case of getting at the start and paddle all the way down to the end. There was certain things that came and gave us a bit of a hard time. And one particular one was I managed to get myself quite badly sunburnt. To be honest, to this day, I still don't know how. I was putting sun cream on regularly, sort of every 2 hours, very strong sun cream. But I apologize because these pictures aren't the nicest. But I managed to get 2nd-degree burns on both my shoulders. So we actually ended up having 2 days off at a place called Lake City whilst I recuperated, because I could not lift my arms sort of above here, which makes it quite difficult for paddling. And then obviously I was very dehydrated. So that took a lot of getting over. And that was, as I say, whilst wearing factor 75 plus sun cream. But when you sat on the river, the sun is just blaring down on you. So that was just another thing we had to deal with. But we were helped by the people called River Angels. Now, there is a group of people who we were put in touch with before we started. It's a Facebook group called the Mississippi River Paddlers. And it's a group of people who live close and local to the river, who are happy to help out anyone paddling down there. And they call themselves River Angels. And there's a few that we met on there, and I've got a picture of Tom as well, who came to help us. But there was a few crazy occasions. The couple on the right there were called Tom and Arlene, and we were just paddling along one day, and the weather was really, really bad. It was so windy. The fact that they were actually fixing their roof, that something had blown off the roof, and they saw us struggling to paddle against the currents. And they said, "Oh, do you just want to come and pop on our lawn and you can stay here for the night?" So we did. They gave us a meal. They took us to Walmart and everything. And it was just fantastic. And obviously Tom, we'd never met Tom before. He came to our rescue in the middle of a storm, and we stayed with him and his wife Joy for a couple of days, and it was lovely. And I know Ken's the same, and I genuinely wouldn't, if it hadn't have been for people like Tom and the rest of the River Angels, we would not have survived down this river. It was thanks to them opening their houses to us that we got to the end. And I'll forever be thankful, and I really do hope that one day I will to go back and visit everyone. So I think that's a big credit to everyone in America, really, how helpful you took, you know, two Brits who were trying to get down this river and just took us in and helped us. So that was brilliant. So that's kind of a bit of a summary of the Mississippi. That was very quick. I mean, it took us 58 days, but I don't want to take all your time. I could go on forever. So I'll move on to the next thing that I've done. So this one's a bit more recent. I actually did this in the September. I set off in September of 2019. And this was a challenge called Quest for Brest. And it was basically the idea of walking home from Brest in France, which is 500 miles away from where I currently live. Now, why on earth did I decide to do this? That's a very good question. So in the summer of 2018, my mum was unfortunately diagnosed with breast cancer. And, you know, unfortunately, cancer is very prominent. You know, everyone seems to know someone these days. And I just felt helpless. And I couldn't take the pain away from my mum, but I thought what I can do is I can go do something that's going to raise a lot of money for a charity that can help my mum. So I was away with my then fiance in just for a quick city break to Vienna in Austria, and I was trying to think of something to do, and he just said, well, isn't there a place in France called Brest? Why don't you just walk home from there or something? Obviously the relation being breast cancer and breast. So that's where it came from, and we decided we were going to push our honeymoon on by a year, and we're going to go walk home from France the next year. We chose to raise funds for a charity called Macmillan Cancer Support. They're a UK-based charity who they don't focus on you know, finding ways to cure cancer. They're more focused on helping people who have cancer live a better life. Their motto is that, you know, everyone with cancer still has a life, and we want to help them live it. And my mum felt that she'd been helped a lot by them, so we chose them as a charity to raise money for. And I'm thankful to say at the moment our fundraising stands at about nearly 6,500, which is a decent amount of money for a charity. So really pleased with that. But that's the reason I decided to do this walk. So route. Now, a lot of people actually assumed that a company sorted this out for me. You know, I just contacted them and said, I want to do this walk. Can I have the details? But no, it was all self-planned. You know, I looked up on the internet to see if anybody had ever done this walk before, and they hadn't. So I had to buy all different maps. I think it was 22 maps of England alone to plan a route from my parents' house in Halifax all the way down to, it was Portsmouth, where we crossed the channel. We didn't swim the channel, we got on a ferry. And then we also had to plan the route in France as well. It took a heck of a long time to do. Originally, we were going to walk from Halifax to France, but then we decided to do it the other way around, because we thought if we did, we might get a bit more of a spectacular finish surrounded by friends and family at home in Halifax. So I then had to replan the route the other way around as well. So it probably took me a good year to get this route planned. We tried to stick to sort of national trails and parks, because you can't just walk up a highway. So it took a lot of negotiating and trying to plan in where we could stay, where we could camp, because we wanted to keep costs down. We didn't want to stay in hotels every night. And I've got a quick video to show you of some of the obstacles that we came across, because as ever, it's not just as simple as strapping on your boots and walking. So enjoy. It's quite funny this because the gap looks incredibly small, but when you've got a big rucksack on your back, it's quite hard to leap across water. We had to walk down railway tracks in France. There was a lot of cows in England and bulls that we had to avoid. So on a lot of the trails in England, they have what we call stiles and fences and gates that you have to get through, which is fine if you're just walking normally. But when you've got a massive rucksack on your back, you get stuck, and it was quite hard to get ourselves through there. So that was just some of the stuff we came across. The particular one where I'm walking across the ford without my shoes on. The reason for that is, as I'll explain in a minute, I had a lot of blisters on my feet, and I had to switch to my trainers one day just to have some respite on my feet. And then we came across this ford. Now, obviously, trainers aren't waterproof, and I put my boots back on, so I just decided I was going through barefoot. And it was actually really nice and pleasant on my feet. So that was that particular video. Kit, this is always one that everybody asks me, what did you carry? Now, my aim personally was to carry no more than 10 kilograms on my back. That was inclusive of food, water, tent, clothing, sleeping bags, pretty much everything you can see on that we had to carry on our own back. So minimizing weight was incredibly important, and I became very obsessed with it to the point that I was trying to shave tiny bits of pounds off equipment just so I had less to carry. But I'm very glad that I did, because having that amount of weight on your back for 20 miles, I had bruises on my shoulders and my hips for the first few days, just where my rucksack was. One thing that's quite prominent in that picture is the white t-shirt in the middle. Now, as you can see, it's got handwriting on. So what we did, anybody who donated to our cause was invited to write the name of a friend or family or loved one who had fought cancer or was still fighting cancer, who had lost their battle or anything like that. And we would wear these white t-shirts as we crossed the finish line, so that we had all the names of the people we were doing it for on our back. So we carried them with us, and people could write names as we met them, which was lovely. And my mum's was right there next to me as I crossed the finish line. Blisters. There's a bit of a theme here. I got blistered on the Mississippi and blisters on the walk. I apologize for the horrendous pictures of my feet there, but this is the reality of walking for 28 days solid. So the picture on the left, I think, is my feet. Well, it is my feet during the last week. So this, my feet should be pretty strong by that point, but I was still getting blisters. And then the picture on the right is of my little toe, where I actually got an infected blister, which meant, unfortunately, I had to stop for a couple of days, because I was told by the doctor that I had to stop walking for a long time. But I told him that I was supposed to be walking, 20 miles the next day. So he said, well, just rest as much as you can and then carry on. So he gave me some stuff to clean it, and I had to bandage my feet every day. I've got a video that just shows a bit more lovely footage of the realities of walking 500 miles. Can you hear the audio on these videos? Yes, perfect. Okay, I just had some thought that you might not be able to. So I'm sorry if you're off put by feet, you might want to look away at this video.
Hmm.
So every morning we would do what we call our blister check, well, and every evening actually, where you'd assess how many blisters you got, and you had to pop each one, get anything out of it, cover it up. And this whole process would take between half an hour to an hour every morning and every evening. And this is me just doing it one particular morning on some bad ones in the final week. It's safe to say we became blister experts by the end of it. I think we totaled that between us, we had about 55 blisters throughout the walk. I think I in France itself, I did quite well. I only had one. But then in England, I think I got 5 every single day. It was just absolutely insane. And trying to walk on blisters made it incredibly painful. But we managed to figure out a treatment routine and stuck to that daily. One other thing we had to take into account was food, because like I say, we're carrying everything on our backs. Now, when we planned the route through France, we planned it so that we'd go through lots of towns, lots of cities in the hope that we'd be able to get food. But we soon found out that most places in rural France seemed to shut at about 12. So every time we got there for lunch, nothing was ever open. So we actually relied a heck of a lot on just bread and tuna, or McDonald's if we found any of them. The picture on the right is of one particular place that we stayed, where all we had was a packet of dehydrated rice and some chorizo. So we cooked up a fantastic meal of rice and chorizo, and something never tasted so good. I think that just shows how hungry we were at that point. In England, it was completely different. We have a lot of pubs, so we could stop off for lunch or tea and have a good pub meal, which is brilliant. And then occasionally, if we couldn't do that, we'd have dehydrated pasta or mash that we'd cook with our little stove that we took with us. The final day, so as I said, we quite early on we switched how we were going to do the route so that we would finish in Halifax, which is my hometown, and we decided we were going to try and finish in a place called the Peace Hall, which is a listed building, quite famous within the area. So we contacted them and said, this is what we're doing, can we have a big finish with balloons at the Peace Hall? And they agreed to it, thankfully, with the support of Macmillan. And my dream sort of from the day one was that I wanted to do this final day surrounded by friends and family. So we purposely planned for it to be a shorter day of about 12 miles so that people could come and join us if they wanted. We broke it up into sections so people could walk the 12 or 10 or 4 miles and they'd join us as we went. So this particular picture is the big group of us that actually finished the walk all together on the final day, including my mum, which made me so proud because she'd only just finished her first lot of chemo treatment. She was re-diagnosed another time, but she'd finished the first lot of her cancer treatment only about a month before she came and joined us on a 12-mile walk. So that was a fantastic moment for all of us that my mum could be there with us. It was a very surreal moment crossing the finish line, surrounded by everyone. It was very emotional. Obviously, it was a very personal cause for me, and I was very proud of what we achieved. And that is my very, very, very fleeting visit to my 2 challenges. I'd love to open the floor up for any questions because I realise I haven't gone too in depth, but I wanted to try and stick to a time limit. So please feel free to ask me anything you'd like to know.
What do your feet look like now? Have they healed?
Yeah, they look fine. I tend to blister a lot easier than I used to. In the areas that I blistered on the walk, they're quite susceptible to getting blisters, but they look okay. They've definitely changed shape a bit. I now take a size bigger shoe, but apart from that, we're okay. And I lost a toenail as well, but apart from that, we're okay.
Wow, what a fantastic journey.
I can see one.
What's your next quest?
I haven't decided fully, but before my mum sadly passed away, she suggested that I don't know if you guys know what a Zorb is. It's like a giant inflatable thing that you can stand in and run like down a hill. Well, my mum suggested trying to Zorb the length of the UK in one of them. So I'm going to look at the logistics of trying to do that. I don't think I'm actually going to be able to go from one end of the country to the other. I might have to do it on a track, 800 odd miles. But that's the next one maybe, because my mum came up with it. So I think that'd be very nice to be able to do.
Wow. Do you ever see Ken Robertson anymore?
Oh yeah. I see Ken a lot. He doesn't live too far away from me. Now I've moved back up home. I'm not down near London. I only live about 10 minutes away from him. Yeah, we keep in touch a lot because we've been through that experience together, and no one else can quite understand the highs and the lows of it like we can for each other. So we are very, very good friends for it all. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to meet Doug Seegers and Gloria?
I did, yes.
Yeah, they're good friends of mine.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, we managed to see them from day one. We'd planned to have a bit of time with them. Yeah, the people.
There was a gentleman from Florida who canoed the entire river about a year, I think 2 years ago now. Anybody recall his name? He was for Shelter Box.
No.
But he canoed the entire river, and during his entire journey, he didn't shave at all. And I guess he's in his early 40s. But when he got done in New Orleans, he looked like he was about 60.
Yeah.
I did a video of him getting his beard shaved off at a nice a real barber shop in a hotel in New Orleans. And it was amazing. And I guess that helped his face not get sunburned. But
probably, yeah.
So, I remember the sunburn stories from years ago. And also, I was able to get a copy of Grace's current book. And just to let you know, Grace, when you order it on Amazon, they actually print it in the United States. And I think,
okay.
I don't think they print it until you order it. They have technology now. When you order it, it prints, which is amazing, I think.
Yeah.
Otherwise, so.
Was the paper still warm when you got it, Tom?
Just about. But anyway, I enjoyed it a great deal. And that's why I wanted to encourage you to come speak to us today. And what do you call the device? A Dob? The big.
The Zorb.
Like, anyway, that could be bad if you just rolled into the water somewhere. And
yeah. So that's why I was thinking we might just have to do it on a running track or something. I worked out if we do it, it'll be about 2,800 laps of a track to cover the length of the UK. So, I mean, this is a few years away, but that's what's in the pipeline at the moment. It won't be my last ridiculous adventure, I'm sure. But yeah, in terms of my book, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Tom. But I can send you all a link if you're interested in it. I did say to Tom that I've just had a big shipment of them arrive at my house that I'm signing. So if anybody was interested in a signed copy, I could send a bulk load over to you all. And I did release a book about the Mississippi, which I'm rewriting at the moment because I decided I could do it better now. So I'll rewrite in that one, and I'll let Tom know when that's available, because hopefully that'll be a fun read as well.
I may have some pictures you might want to use.
Grace, if you'll send the link to Tom, and Tom, if you'll forward it to me, I'll put it in the newsletter for next week. That way, those that are on the call plus those that didn't join will get an idea of it too.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Very interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me.
And good luck to you in the future.
Cheers.
On the Mississippi, did you ever capsize?
Now I didn't, but Ken did, which I was very, very proud of, because we said very early on, we're like, there is no way we are going to get down 2,350 miles without capsizing. But I did. Ken only did once, to be fair to him, and it was on a set of rapids. it was a bit scary. You know, I was thankful when I saw him flip back up, but yeah, I managed to get down without doing.
Wow.
Yeah, I still don't know how.
Oh, well,
What kind of animals did you see along the way, and lots of snakes?
Now we didn't see anything sort of what I'd class as the big animals. We didn't see any bears, or it is alligators, isn't it? Not crocodiles that way. Yeah. Thankfully didn't see any of them. I feel like they probably saw us though, but I am absolutely terrified of snakes, and we did see a few of them, which was quite scary for me. Some of them were swimming as well. And I did get hit by a fish at one point that sort of leaped out of the water. I must have startled it with my boat. Yeah, that was quite a funny one.
so what career turn are you doing now?
So I decided last summer that I'm leaving diving, and I'm going to be retraining sort of as a outdoor education, you know, leader. So rock climbing, kayaking, ironically, all that kind of stuff. So because of COVID, the course that I'm going to do for that keeps getting pushed back. So I'm currently out of work because when my mum got re-diagnosed, unfortunately, at the beginning of this year with her cancer, and it was terminal. And we found out in October that there was nothing else they could do. So there was a few weeks, months left. So I left my job down south and moved back home, so I could spend this time with them. So now I'm home waiting for this course to start, basically, is where I'm at. Yeah.
Good. We're so sorry to hear about your mom, and it was awesome that you dedicated that walk in the book to her. So we're thankful.
Yeah, thank you. It's yeah, it was she battled for 2.5 years, you know, and she's at peace now, which I take a lot from. But yeah, it's been hard, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time today and visiting with us and sharing your stories. I can't believe the endurance and the stick-to-itness, you know. You set out and you did it. I cannot imagine having to deal with the blisters every day. I remember doing 120-mile walk, 120-mile hike when I was back in Scouts, and that was the longest day I ever remember. I can't imagine doing that day after day after day after day and dealing with that. So just amazing.
Mitch, my remembrance are hiking in Philmont and getting a blister one day and having not to be able to hike. So I have sympathy with you.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I never did the Philmont thing. So 120 miles was all I did one day, and that was enough.
It's still impressive.
Yeah. So, well, blessings on your next adventure, and hopefully you'll get that class. You'll be a great outdoor teacher. That sounds fantastic. So
thank you.
And everybody, we will see you next week. I know if anybody's got an idea for a program for next week, Dave's going yes. Andy Rummel has signed up, and he hasn't joined a single one of these meetings. So
I've got a few ideas I'm chasing down, but if somebody's got something fairly firm, you know, I'll be happy to go with that. Otherwise, I'll chase these down. I'm going to see if Paul would be willing to get up early. Our son is in Boston, so although it's, you know, 8 o'clock for him, he's not a morning person. But he's teaching a hands-on robotics class at University of Massachusetts virtually. So I thought maybe it would be interesting to hear how he has pulled that off. I don't know if I can sweet talk him into it. I may have to pay him something. But, you know, I mean, we'll see. But I got some other ideas. I just have to chase them down. So, you know, kind of keep coming up with the ideas, folks. You know, we'll make it work.
And we need to get Ken Robertshaw to present and tell us the real story on the Mississippi River trip.
He can tell you about how he capsized.
That explains a lot about Ken. He must have sucked in too much water. Ken?
Yeah, one thing I will say is that I've been to a few of Ken's talks, and they are very, very different when we've both delivered them. You know, it is interesting to see both perspectives of it. Yeah.
He knows every bad joke that I know, every single one.
Oh, no one knows that.
I mean, try staying, you know, in close quarters with him for 58 days, Tom, with those kind of jokes. Yeah. I'm sure he'd love to talk to you.
Well, I'd love to see you back.
Yeah, I would definitely want to get back at some point.
Come do your Zorg ball here.
Maybe I should go down the Mississippi and all. Maybe
That would be something. I've seen those. We've had those in our fields and stuff at different events, and then
yeah,
the newest ones are the ones where your feet hang out and you're just running at each other. So you're talking about
yeah,
the one
that
with,
looks fun as well. Yeah.
Well, I spent 17 years living on the bank of the Mississippi,
Oh yeah.
and the 93 flood took care of my home. It just washed it out.
Crazy times. All right. Thank you all for joining us, and